If you guys want to be with a chance to win an ELGATO Key Light Air, then we're running a giveaway right now. Be sure to click the link in the description box down below to enter. Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Animal Crossing New Horizons. And today I want to talk about some more design ideas for those of you guys that are of course trying to take your island to the next level, push it up to that 5-star ranking, or just in general make it look a little different. If you're looking for some ideas for some fun things you can do in certain corners of your islands, ways to spice things up, then there's a few things in this video that you might want to consider trying. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know if you guys have thought of anything inventive yourself. By all means, share any creator codes or any links to your tweets. We'd love to see that kind of stuff, but let's get started. The very first one is a basketball court, and this one, the idea actually came from Liam Back on Twitter. I will link his creator code in the description box down below and the original tweet. But basically, this just uses a few nicely made custom paths that mark out the necessary markings for your basketball games, and you then ideally use the item you can purchase from Nook's Cranny, both of the basketball hoops, to create the necessary setup. For this one, I actually didn't have quite as much room as I would have liked because, you know, I've set up my island in such a way, so I basically went around to try and find a corner that I could put this into without having to drastically remodel everything. But essentially what I've done here is I've just laid down the wooden planks, the kind of default pathway. You could of course use something else if you want to. Keep in mind it will need to be one of the pre-existing pathways because you want to put a custom item on top, so I couldn't just have taken like the tarmac I've been using for my roads because that's a custom design itself. But either way, lay down something that looks like some kind of flooring you could play basketball on. You could do stone if you wanted to look more like an outside court, but I just went with the wooden one because it actually looks quite nice. You then lay down the lines all the way around, you find the center point, of course put the circle in the middle, and you then put down your two hoops. Now, again, if you actually look at the kind of original picture, Liam actually did the line markings that go around the basketball hoops, which is really nice, kind of a much nicer touch, but because I was a little bit cramped for space here, I didn't quite get to do that. But you can basically see that when this all comes together, you have a nice little basketball court. I don't actually have a basketball specifically, so I just threw down a soccer ball here to illustrate what would typically go here. And then given that I had a little bit of space at the top because it was, you know, off center, I just put some spectator chairs there to basically complete the look. So, number one, a basketball court. Moving on from there to number two, the idea for this one actually came from Claudia Paris on Twitter. I will link the original tweet in the description box down below. But this is actually a custom-made bridge. So instead of actually using the bridges that you build from Nook, the ones that you have to pay for, and you know, depending on how many you have on your island, you may have actually reached your limit. So if there are situations or times when you want to make your own bridge that still looks really cool, then you can go about it in this way. Now, I will admit the one that I made here isn't quite as good. And the main reason for that is because I didn't do quite enough depth. But what you essentially go and do is you go and dig out the land and you create and you use different elevations from, of course, the terraforming tools. And down below, you would, of course, put the water in and you would then fill in the gap in between with the terraforming tool. And you can then lay down some custom pathways that look like a nice wooden bridge, or if you wanted to do a stone bridge, you could do something similar. And you put fences either side, and provided you've got enough depth, enough kind of distance, then you actually get this nice effect where you see the river on either side, but you won't, because of the fences, see the sheer faces of the wall. So it kind of looks like a floating bridge, which is actually a really cool aesthetic. Now, as you can see in my situation, my bridge was a little bit too short, so you don't quite get to see enough of the water volume, and that's again because I was trying to fit it in between these trees in this kind of spare space I had. So, you know, had I had a little bit more room, I would of course have extended this even more so, but you can see principally the design process behind this. It's digging out a load of land, filling in some water, and then laying down some custom pathways and some fences on the top to create what is effectively a bridge. Next one, the third one over here, is just a kind of a quick mention on this one because I did actually cover it in my most recent island tour video. If you guys haven't caught that one, I will link it down below. But this one is for the paleontologists out there. Effectively, if you want to have a fossil dig site, then you go about it in a very similar manner to the previous build, in that you need to hollow out some land and you need to work with elevation. So you would need to think about this one sensibly because, of course, you want to put the fossil... I mean, you could just do this with one tier. You could just do one layer. I've gone all out with this one and gone 2 layers deep. So you would effectively begin with some kind of square that you can throw sand or earth down. I've used earth for this one. You then want to build up the land around to create this dig site kind of elevation. And then I've built up a second layer around that one, which is of course where my museum is. Thrown down some rope fences around to make it look like I've kind of roped off the area so people can't get there. And if you then use the custom design from Colin M Art, which I will link in the description box down below, that is this pre-made 6-tile fossil design, which is really, really cool. 6 different tiles, lay them all down, and then again, using the kind of nice perspective of the sort of Animal Crossing camera, when you stand up higher, you get this nice fossil dig site, which looks really cool. And of course, you can then add to that by taking items like the spade, putting it on display, putting a ladder down there, maybe like a wheelbarrow, and a few other items that really kind of just add to the overall look. And then, you know, once that's all wrapped up, you have a pretty cool looking dig site. And then for the fourth one, this one is actually really, really cool. You might have seen sort of some posts on people doing this recently, and this is using the forced perspective of Animal Crossing. Now, quite a lot of people have done this one. I'll admit the very first time I saw this, it was from a Reddit post from Theo1618. He himself said that many other people have done it, so I'm not entirely sure who was the first person to do it, but this is where I originally saw it. And the idea is that you use the forced perspective of the camera, the way that it kind of like looks down above you, to create these cool dioramas that are, technically speaking, close to you, but look like they are off in the distance. So the way you go about doing this one is pick somewhere on your island that has, say, one of those kind of rocky areas protruding out into the sea. I haven't got one that is quite so wide, but I still had an area that I could typically use. You then work your way around, climb down, and you want to start cutting away at the landscape, because what you then want to do is create a very simple tile. There's not like a creator code for this one because I just literally created it, because it's simply a white line at the top, white line at the bottom, little white line in the middle to create a small road. And the idea is that you're creating a road that looks quite small, because you then lay this down right next to the stone. You then pick some things that would look quite good in the distance, so like a lighthouse, a turbine. You can then use some of the vehicles that you can get from the Pocket Camp on the Animal Crossing kind of mobile version, and you can then lay them down as these small vehicles. And then once you climb back up and you build the cliff back in, you need to kind of build it in such a way so that the lower levels obscure where the road ends, so you don't effectively see the tiles, you know, going into nothingness. And you then complete the top layer, and you'll have this nice little sort of perspective thing where when you walk to the very edge of the cliff, you can't see in front of the road, you can't see the ends of the road. Instead, it just looks like a very nice little sort of road in the distance with cars driving down, and you get this really cool perspective look where, you know, the actual thing that is technically speaking right in front of us actually looks quite far in the distance. So a really cool, fun thing to do, and something you might want to consider doing for some of those lesser used areas on your island. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you've got any questions, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. And again, any of the creator codes or any of the kind of necessary things or credits I've put in the description box down below, so you should be able to find everything you need down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.